Okay, let's picture this. Dawn, June 21st, 2025.
Okay.
Tokyo. You're at the historic Tsukiji Hongwanji Temple. And there are over 2,000 people, yoga enthusiasts, all gathered. It's the 11th International Day of Yoga, IDY 2025. Now, it might just look like a big public yoga session, right? But our mission in this deep dive is really to explore how this one event managed to weave together personal wellness, community vibes, and even international diplomacy, all around this powerful theme. Yoga for One Earth, One Health. We're digging into the reports to see what really stands out. So first off, the location, Tsukiji Hongwanji. That choice feels, well, intentional. It's a Buddhist temple, symbolizing this deep spiritual connection between India and Japan. And the host was the Embassy of India in Tokyo. What does choosing that specific place tell us right away?
Yeah, it's definitely more than just finding a big enough space. The reports really highlight the strategy there. Using a revered Japanese spiritual site like Tsukiji Hongwanji for an event rooted in Indian tradition, that sends a huge nonverbal message. It signals, a real desire for deep cultural exchange, shared values. It's not just India exporting its culture, it immediately elevates the whole thing. Makes it about mutual respect, ancient ties. That's pretty effective diplomacy, even if subtle.
That makes total sense, grounding it in shared history. And speaking of signals, the guest list was, well, pretty high profile. Madam Yoshiko Shiba, the Prime Minister's spouse, inaugurated it. And Madam Satoko Iwaya, spouse of the Foreign Minister, was there too. But here's the kicker, they didn't just attend, they actually joined in the asana practice. What's the ripple effect when you see figures like that? Not just observing, but like physically participating. Does that shift things more than a formal speech could?
Oh, absolutely. It really does. The reports frame this as embodied diplomacy. It's not just a photo op. When high-ranking spouses actually do the activity, it cuts through the usual diplomatic stiffness. It shows genuine cultural respect, openness, a willingness to engage beyond just formal words. It's personal, relatable, very humanizing. That kind of thing can build goodwill much more effectively than, say, a policy statement. And of course, we should acknowledge the hosts, AT Ambassador Sibi George and Madam Joyce Sibi, and the temple folks, Rev Miyoki Hayama and Rev Tomohiro Kimura. They created that welcoming space.
Embodied diplomacy, I like that. That captures it perfectly. And the event itself, the flow. It sounds like it was designed to create that shared feeling. They started with the common yoga protocol, standardized poses, and then the sound of Om chanting, echoing through the quiet Ginza streets early in the morning. Must have been quite something. But it wasn't just yoga, right? There was this taste of India part. Fresh mangoes, millet snacks, warm masala chai. Sometimes it's those little sensory things that stick with you. I still remember my first proper masala chai. It just hits different. How do these cultural touches, the food and drink, connect to the One Earth, One Health message? Or are they just nice extras?
No, they're definitely more than just extras. Those sensory details are key. They turn it from just a gathering into, well, an immersion. The reports really emphasize that the taste of India wasn't just catering. It was part of the cultural exchange. It expands that idea of wellness,
Wow.
beyond just the physical poses to a whole experience involving taste, smell, connection to a culture's heart. It reinforces the One Earth part by showcasing global cultural richness, how we can share and appreciate these things for, well, collective well-being. It's a tasty way to build community.
Right, so it's about the whole atmosphere, not just the time on the mat, which leads us straight to that core theme. Yoga for One Earth, One Health. It sounds good, but it feels pretty profound. How do the sources help us understand what they were really getting at with that?
Well, yoga for One Earth, One Health might seem straightforward, but the insight from the reports is how it deliberately reframes individual wellness. It shifts the focus. Yoga isn't just seen as something you do for yourself, for your own peace or fitness. It's positioned as something that contributes directly to global ecological balance. The idea is that true wellness isn't just individual, it's shared, it's tied to the health of the planet. So the theme makes yoga a practical tool for environmental stewardship, too. That's a nuance that often gets missed. It shows yoga's relevance to bigger global challenges.
That's a really powerful way to frame it, taking it beyond the personal. And of course, to pull off something like this, you need good partners. The reports mentioned the Patanjali Japan Foundation, PJF, as one of the official organizers. They were there working alongside other local yoga groups. And their representatives, Ashutosh Sensei and Director Yumi, were there in person. It reflects their values, right? Collaboration and seva, selfless service. But how tough is it, practically speaking, for an organization like PJF to translate a big idea like seva or One Earth, One Health into a tangible event for thousands, especially with diverse partners?
It's a great question. And yeah, the reports kind of touched on this implicitly. Taking a philosophical ideal like Seva and making it work on the ground for so many different people, that needs serious coordination. PJF's role seems to have been crucial as a sort of bridge, connecting the embassy's vision with what works for the local Japanese community. For other yoga groups, they had to ensure it felt accessible, culturally right, genuinely inclusive for everyone, from experienced yogis to people just trying it out. Having their own representatives there participating wasn't just symbolic, it showed they were hands-on, making sure that collaborative spirit actually happened. It's really about building trust and showing that selfless service is a practical guide for how you organize things, not just a nice idea. So I think if we boil it down, the core takeaway from this deep dive, well, it's that this IDY event at Tsukiji Hongwanji was a fantastic example of how things are interconnected. Individual actions like practicing yoga, cultural exchange, and this broader idea of global well-being. They all came together. The Tokyo event really hammered home that wellness isn't just about us as individuals. It includes the health of our planet. It was a really skillful way to use a cultural event to strengthen diplomatic ties and foster that collective sense of responsibility.
Absolutely. It's quite inspiring, actually. And maybe for you listening, it's worth thinking about. How can one single event, held in a historic temple, do all that? Foster personal balance, sure, but also subtly weave diplomatic threads and push this big idea of one Earth, one health. Makes you wonder, what seemingly small actions in our own lives could actually be contributing to that larger vision of shared wellness? Something to mull over.